Hey everyone, welcome to Retro Oddities. I am the Fat Wizard, and I guess who do I have here today? I think we have a special guest today.
Do we?
That's you.
Oh, excellent.
That's you. That's you. That's your key. Like, hey, we got. Could you believe it? We got Shane. Don't ask how much we're paying him because I'm going bankrupt over here. But it's all for the quality content. It's all for. Really, I just want you to boost the viewer numbers here, Shane. So take it away.
It's such a shocking special guest, even I can't believe it. Hello, I'm ShaneIsGames.
And Shane, we're playing, what game are we playing?
Oh, gee, that's an excellent question. Something Ring. It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's Elden Ring, that one everyone's playing, right? Everyone's playing this game, right?
Is that retro?
Yeah, it's PS2, right? Is that the one?
Yeah. That's the, no, was it Kingsfield?
Kingsfield, that was it. That must have been
was
the one
of
with
them.
Right.
No, I'm going to help you out here, okay?
Thank you so much.
It's Eternal Ring.
Eternal Ring. Yes, that's
it makes so much more sense when, in some ways, it makes so much more sense when you understand the story. But I'm not sure I understand the story. But let me try to say something, and maybe this is right, maybe this is something different.
Please.
So the Eternal Ring is not actually a ring that you put on your finger.
No.
It is a more or less a prison cell that you contain something in. So it's eternally there to keep this deity or something in. We can talk more about that later, but that's more or less like what Eternal Ring is, right?
Right, and that leads to the first bit of confusion I had with the game. Because at the title screen, they have a cinema that plays if you sit on the title screen, right?
Yeah.
And it shows your character walking down a bridge to a gazebo and picking up a ring and then getting attacked by a dragon and they have a fight.
Yeah, it's a little bit misdirection. And
None of that happens.
if you look at the box art,
it's got a ring.
It's got a person with a ring. Yeah. And it says Eternal Ring. And it's even, not only is he holding a ring, but there's literally a ring inside of the font that says Eternal Ring. So this is classic bait and switch Miyazaki again. I actually don't even think Miyazaki was on this, but classic Miyazaki saying, it's not actually the thing you think it is. So this is actually really interesting. This is interesting, man. This game, I don't understand how FromSoft was involved with this, but it is clearly listed as an Age Tech game. So it's AGETEC. And I think I looked in the back of the manual or the back of the box. It says something like, collect all of the Age Tech games, or collect all 3 Age Tech games. So I'm going to do some investigation right now, live, and just kind of see what the heck is Age Tech here. So it looks like this was in 1999 they started. It looks like they made Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within.
Oh, jeez.
They did RPG Maker. Or no, sorry, this was the publisher, I believe.
That's what I was thinking.
Age Tech is the publisher.
Because I was thinking this has to be the engine from Kingsfield. So
I think so.
If nothing else, they must have had contributed that, but
yeah.
It is weird because I do have the North American version of Eternal Ring, and it's got Age Tech on the cover, and on the back cover in microscopic text it says FromSoft.
Yeah, that's the one I've got. So, interesting game. It's I think honestly, you look at both this and Kingsfield side by side. I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference.
No.
Actually, it was Kingsfield on PS1.
It started on PS1. Yes, Kingsfield 4 was on PS2, I think.
I think there's a strong argument that says that Eternal Ring was on the PS1, and at some point they just made it on the PS2 because there's no analog controls. Right?
No,
so they're just like, don't worry about it. Everything in the game screams PS1 to me, honestly. The only thing, there's always that telltale texture swimming on the PS1 games. You kind of get to a wall and they're kind of shifting all around. Obviously there's none of that here.
If I remember correctly, FromSoft kind of started out as a PC developer.
Okay.
So this could actually be a PC port. Which would explain why they didn't touch the joysticks there. because they're coming from keyboard and mouse controls.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Eternal Ring, and let's just click on the Wikipedia page and just see like what. Oh, you know what? It was a launch title for the PS2.
Launch title, interesting.
So I can kind of now, things are making a little bit more sense now.
All right.
So, let's talk a little bit about what you do. Actually, let's talk about the voice acting, because I really want to get into the voice acting, because that was one of the most fun things. Like, the voice acting's all over the place here, man. Like, you talk about the intro.
I want to say the term is chewing the scenery.
So, like, when you started the game, you're treated to this cutscene of like these sailors that are bringing this character. His name is Kane Morgan. That is the player that you are playing. Mm. And okay, think in your head, sailor voice. All right, close your eyes and think like, all right, these are some like salty sailors that are kind of like they're going out into dangerous lands. And they're bringing cargo. What does that sound like to you?
It's sort of a little bit gruff,
you
know.
Maybe like the term like governor around. Be like,
exactly.
"Oi, governor," like that sort of thing.
Very much so, yeah.
What if I said he was straight out of Jersey? He's like,
I'd be very confused.
I'm coming over here and I'm helping you out, Kane. What's up? We're going to go over to this island here and then, we're going to kill some enemies, but we got to get home.
This island looks hella dangerous, bro.
Sorry, that's my best Jersey accent. Yeah. But honestly, these dudes were straight out of Jersey. Like, I was like, holy crap, what is happening here? This is the best thing I've ever heard. And they're kind of all over the place, like you said, chewing the scenery. Some people are just like, they're just kind of like very monotone and delivering their line. You can tell when they just, they're not real voice actors when they enunciate like very specific words, like they enunciate like, why would you like to go to the castle? And that sort of stuff, right?
Because the sailor has like one line, so I'm sure they're just like, who's in the office today? Who's working? The janitor's here. Bingo.
The janitor. They got some construction workers there.
There you go.
Or maybe I don't know. Maybe the team was from Jersey. Who knows?
Could
maybe
be.
Maybe it was their star talent. And then also, props to, I'm pretty sure they actually have a real child playing a child in this game. Because, a lot of times you have like, someone that is probably 20, 25 years old or, some age range where they can make their voice sound like a child and their acting is too good. And you're like, that's not a child. But this is literally like they got some 6-year-old kid at the very end of the game. This thing called, what is it called? Like homunculus or something?
Homunculus, yeah, I think so.
And one of my favorite lines is this kid is saying, he's like frustrated because this woman who's kind of acting as this caretaker is trying to like raise this kid or like trying to make him a good person or something.
Trying to like teach him morality and ethics.
Yeah. So this person's like trying to teach him stuff and the kid's like very frustrated. He's like, he says something, what's he say? He's like, I don't understand what I don't understand, or I can't understand what I can't understand. Something
like that, yeah.
It's just really good. And I saw that cutscene like 4 times because, unskippable cutscenes right before big bosses. Yeah,
right.
By the way, we're going to jump all around this game, and honestly, I kind of feel like that's appropriate for this game just because it really does jump around all over the place, and I found myself constantly looking at a guide. I'm like, all right, cool. I finished this area. Where now? And it's like, well, you can go back to this main town. You can do some stuff, or you can just keep going on. And I'm curious, Shane, when you were playing this game, did you find yourself kind of doing this completionist route, or did you just kind of like, I'm just going to go to the next level and the next level and the next level?
I did absolutely the latter.
Yeah.
I went into this game totally blind. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
There was a point around the dead center of the game where I was so fed up with this. And it was right after the giant canyon full of poison.
Yeah. I saw you tweeted. You're like, hey, it's a Miyazaki game. It's a poison swamp.
Yeah, of course there's a poison swamp.
And the weird thing is they gave you a ring. It's like, hey, wear this ring of protection and you'll be good. I'm just like, hey, that's great. Give me the protection. So I put it on, use the ring, and I'm like, I'm still getting poisoned. So I'm like, I don't know, does this ring, like taking the ring on and off, sitting here, like going like, putting it on and off. I'm like, does this ring work? Like, how does this work? And I guess it kind of does work. I don't know, but the thing that's a little challenging with the poison is, I guess once you're poisoned, it stays on you for a while, so you can't use the ring after that. And you have to keep casting the spell from the ring, right? Yeah. So it wears off. So once I kind of understood that, I was like, yeah, okay.
And like there is a ring that cures poison, but there's functionally no way to have it at that point in the game. You can only get it after that part.
There's not really a lot of poison in the game after that level, to be honest. Yeah. So I will say one of the most brilliant things, I really, really enjoyed this ring creation system, and I think we should spend a lot of time chatting about it, because that's the shining feature in this game, in my opinion. If you ever played Magicka, have you ever played Magicka, Shane?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it reminded me so much of that, where it's like, here's a bunch of elements, so you have 6 elements. You got fire, water, earth, wind, light, and darkness.
Right.
So that's very traditional 6 elements. And then you can combine those in ways that are very interesting. You can kind of combine them. It's not as fluid as something like Magicka. But the idea is, and this is where it gets really complicated, right?
Right.
And I had to use the manual. Did you have a manual, by the way, Shane?
Yep, I had the manual, and I was constantly referring to it because, they have an explanation in the game itself, but it is not super intuitive always. How exactly you create the difference between an attack ring and a support ring. That was the thing. Yeah.
Well, could you actually walk us through it? I'm curious. I have it up right now, but I'm curious. Can you remember how this works?
Sure. So what happens is you have a place that's basically like the save points, or near the save points most of the time. Yeah. Where you've got a crafting station, you've got 6 slots that you can put gems you find from enemy drops in there. Yeah. And the slots on the left, what element you put in there determines what element the ring is going to be. And then also the slots on the right, what element you put in there determines whether it's going to be an attack-based ring or a support-based ring.
Yeah.
And the total level of all the gems you put in there also determines how powerful the ring is. What I had to find out the hard way about the crafting system is there's a little bit of RNG in there.
Oh, yeah, it does say that, but I wasn't able to ascertain how much RNG.
So what happens is there's 3 tiers. There's tier 1, there's tier 2, and tier 3 of any type of ring. And there's a cutoff of what the level. So it's
there's 4 tiers.
4 tiers.
If you're talking about just attack rings and
right. So what it is there's a level, this is the level range for tier 1, this is the level range for tier 2. What happens, as far as I could tell, is if you're within about 2 or 3 levels of that break between the 2 tiers, there's an RNG chance that it'll either give you a tier higher than you're supposed to have, or a tier lower than you're supposed to have.
All right.
And I had that happen sometimes where I'd put in a bunch of good gems, and I'm like, I know this is on the tier that I want, and it would just give me the tier below that.
Well, that's why they got the save spot right next to that thing, right?
Right. And as you were saying, they've also got another type of ring called attribute rings. It's basically just buffs.
It's I want to improve my fire, I want to improve my water. And then there's one more. Actually, there's two other types of rings. One are auxiliary rings. Those can't be created. So those are just your general equipment you go out and find in the world.
Right.
And then at the very end game, I think you're going to only get it this near the end game because you have to have 6 gems of all the same element. And the levels have to total between 24 and 30 for a level 1 and then higher for a level 2. And so those will give you summon rings, which are super powerful. I only ever got a level 1 summon ring. I wasn't able to get level 2. Did you find a level 2 ring at all?
No. Apparently there's very few gems that you can actually get to make those rings. So I never got enough to get a level 2 summon.
I did look up that it sounds like you're summoning freaking dragons over here or something. And I think that I was looking at the strategy guide. It says, hey, to kill the last boss, you summon 2 dragons and you win. That'd be cool.
That would have been nice, definitely.
Did you build a summon ring, though?
I had the ability to, but I didn't. I'm like, all right, if this
Okay.
boss is a nightmare, I'll probably throw together a summon ring. But
Yeah, it was pretty easy, the boss itself.
it wasn't terrible once you actually got to him.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird because like I think the elements that control attacking are like fire, water, and earth, and I think the ones that are or attribute rings are wind, light, and darkness. I could get that wrong.
It's something along that.
To your earlier point, what was weird is I think light and darkness only have 3 tiers of levels as opposed to the other elements which have 4 tiers.
Yeah, they don't even show up till like the halfway point of the game.
And I don't think I constructed any light or darkness. It was just like, what's the point?
Yeah, same here.
So I want to talk about my MVP rings, and I want to hear about yours. So first off, when my first or second ring I made, I lucked into a heal ring. And that was like, I can't imagine playing this game without that heal ring because, again, Poison Swamp, not so big of a deal when you can heal yourself over and over and over.
Absolutely.
And then after that, my next MVP was it was like what was it called? Like a blizzard. Yeah, that's what it was called, a blizzard ring.
All right.
And this thing was ridiculous. I was able to beat the game way under leveled because I would stack. It's a water ring, so I'd stack water damage, and then this blizzard thing would be this AOE thing that just sits around you and like damages everything like for 6 seconds. And I would just go in, I'd run in there, and monsters would just flop around dead. And then my final MVP was the water summon, first level summon, which I think they called it projectile in the game. And what that did is it actually froze the target. So you can imagine how trivial the boss is when you have an attack that will just freeze the target and then just do damage to it. And that's how I just beat the boss, by just freezing it. So, all right, let me hear your rings. Like, what did you find that was really awesome?
Oh, definitely heal. You know, I'm a very defensive
so you did
player.
Get the heal ring.
I did. Full disclosure, I was looking at a guide for the rings.
Okay,
and
all right.
My rationale was like, if I was playing this game offline, I would have just saved scummed and tested out every combination.
You would have just thrown out the window and played a different game.
That too. So I got the heal ring, definitely. And as far as the rings I used the most, there was 2 that I was leaning on for most of the game. One of them was I think the tier 3 wind called Vortex.
Yeah, that's the one that you can shoot that, right?
Yeah, the tornado that it actually puts on. Yeah. So
does it actually put a tornado on the ground, or what does that do?
Yeah, it's actually a tornado on the ground. Okay. And if you have the homing ring as well, the tornado will actually wander after enemies.
Yes, that was nice. Yeah.
And the other one I did was I think it's either the tier 1 or the tier 2 Earth spell, Earth Arrow.
Okay.
Because if you combine that with homing, it's a very long range spell, and it's pretty fast too. So I found that was good to hit like flying enemies that were hard to target.
Yeah, there's a dragon like real late in the game that does this really stupid thing where it like goes up in the sky and then comes down. It does probably the same tornado thing at you, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of get up close to him and hit him with some magic. And I suppose that was crucial in damaging the enemy at that point.
Absolutely. I found that boss particularly annoying because you have to walk to this edge of this platform that you can fall off. And you have to lean up so you can't see the ground. And it's just so precarious the whole time.
Yeah, it's fun, that one, because the boss would go straight up, and then he'd go straight down, and then you basically just stand in the middle of the platform, spin your camera around till you see which of the 4 corners he comes up on, and then run towards it.
That is exactly what I did, yes.
That's good. There was also a ring, you're talking about the Seeking Ring. I didn't use that. Well, one, it actually lowers all your attributes by a little bit, so I was like, I can kind of without it. There was also a ring that allowed you to do a dual cast. Did you find that one?
I did not, no.
I found it at a time where I was like, this is worthless, and I forgot about it until just now. But the reason why I felt it was useless is because, all right, so let me set up a scene for you, okay?
All right.
So you got a fireball, and you want to cast the fireball. As a game developer, where do you put the fireball on the screen? Like, where does the fireball come out of the screen?
Well, presumably near the center.
Probably the center, okay? Now, let's say that you want to double up, okay?
All right.
You want to shoot 2 fireballs. Okay, where would you now position those fireballs on the screen?
Kind of next to each other, I imagine, still kind of centered.
Yeah. What if you just like set them so they were off center, both next to each other, but just off center? So anything you're aiming at, you wouldn't hit anything.
Oh, that would be a nightmare.
That's kind of why I stopped using it.
Oh,
but now that I think about it, like, what if about that like tornado spell or the vortex spell, or what about like your other spells that have seeking? Like that might actually be kind of useful. So,
but otherwise you're just off center on everything.
Yeah. So that's the magic. Again, I really love this. I absolutely love to see more games do this because I had a lot of fun. And I guess what I really also liked was that when you go into the menus, when you're constructing rings, you can see like, here's all the rings, or here's all the slots for rings that could exist. You're like, oh, okay, here's level 1, 2, 3, and 4 of each of the elements. And so you kind of have a collection. You'd be like, oh, cool. Let me try to find the collection for this type of ring that I don't have.
Mm-hmm. And after you start getting some, you can kind of imply, you can kind of intuit, oh, I see what's in that gap there, right there. So I can kind of see the shape of where the rings I'm missing are, if you want to get all of them.
Yeah. So that's the magic. I think the magic about halfway through the game, I think the magic kind of took over for me. But the first half of the game, I was very much running around and stabbing things. Or should I say, running around, stabbing things, and then while I'm in the stabbing animation, run up to the monster and then back up. You don't run up to the monster and then stab. You start stabbing and then run into the monster and then back.
Yeah. So, which, is basically how King's Field works, if you ever played that.
Yeah. I haven't. I've seen it played, but I can imagine.
Yeah, a lot of people were commenting as I was playing this. They're like, oh, this looks like King's Field. But the magic is really what sets it apart from King's Field. Yeah. There is magic in there. But like you said, in this game, by the halfway point, you're barely even using your melee weapon, if at all.
Yeah, I actually felt that was a kind of recipe for disaster because my vortex or my blizzard would do all the damage, and then I'd get like one little poke in there.
Yeah.
But this game does have...
At the start of the game, like the first couple of dungeons, you've only got like 2 or 3 casts at a time before you're out of MP, so you really are leaning on those melee weapons.
Yeah, speaking of dungeons, I thought I was going to be in for a much different game when I did the first dungeon. The first real dungeon. You go into a water temple. It's just kind of a tutorial area, and then you go to this town, and then there's this water temple, and this water temple is probably... I feel like this is one of the biggest levels in the game, honestly, and just so many side paths. Mm-hmm. And I was really expecting to grow and expand from there, but honestly, most of the levels itself were very self-explanatory, and there wasn't a lot of complications to it. And where I would get stuck was honestly just like, all right, I beat this level. What do I do now? Where do I go?
There wasn't great signposting at the end of dungeons. And sometimes the only thing to do was just walk all the way back to the entrance and go somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to burn through the game with my low level, because the game does seem like it's intended for you to go back and do quests and stuff. And there's areas that I went into and then it was too hard for me, and then I left and never came back because they're kind of side levels. So
there were some areas you didn't end up finishing?
Yeah, like there's you know how there's that tree. And there's kind of you leave. I think you leave the poison forest and you go to sort of like a tree area.
Yeah, where there's like a little shop.
Yeah. Which, by the way, there's a dude sleeping, and sometimes he's awake, and then you can buy stuff. But sometimes you just can't. So it's like, I don't know, come back later.
Mm.
Anyway, there's a forest there, and that forest I don't believe is part of the crypt path in any way. So I went in there, and the monsters were too hard, and so I went into the mines, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think the intent is you're supposed to go to the mines, level up a bit, and then go back into that forest. But as far as I know, there wasn't anything in the forest to find.
I never went through the forest either. I talked to that hooded guy who says don't go into the forest.
Yeah, because it's too hard for you. But
and then immediately out of spite went straight to the forest and got one shot by a lizard man.
Yeah, he's like, the old man should be like, dude, I literally just told you, don't go into the forest.
Just waiting at the door to laugh at you as you waltz out.
Yeah. Well, some of the bosses in here were pretty cool. A lot of them for me was kind of like circle strafing around while stabbing them with the sword. Did you have any hot tactics other than that? At least for the first half, you probably did magic later on.
Yeah, I mostly did magic later on. Yeah, for the early bosses, it was just kind of circle strafing and throwing magic until I ran out of MP, and then doing that weird sort of fade away stab where you start the animation and start running backwards.
The fade away stab. I love it.
That's about it, though.
Yeah.
Like the bosses had cool models, and I appreciate that they all had their own animation routines. But they weren't tremendously sophisticated fights. They were fun, though. They were.
Oh yeah, yeah. They some of the monsters too. The normal monsters were kind of wicked. I remember the last area. Again, I was probably, I don't know if I use a strategy guide to kind of gauge. I was probably like 10 levels under, because I think I beat the game when I was maybe 38 or 40. Do you remember when you beat it?
Ooh, wow, I feel like I was pushing 50.
Okay. Again, I'm telling you that Blizzard is a great spell. But yeah, I think they expect you to kind of beat the game at level 50-ish because so you enter the last level and there's these ghost guys that will shoot these more or less fireballs at you. And I think those were killing me in 2 hits. So I was like, I'm just going to literally just run past this area and just go to the end boss because... Again, anytime you go back to the final area, you've got to watch a 5-minute cutscene about this kid who doesn't know, you can't understand what he can't understand.
Not to mention, literally the entire last area has no save points, no checkpoints. So if you die to the boss, you have to do that whole area over again.
And by the way, let's chat about the ending here. Do you remember the character's name? The woman that was trying to help out Homunculus or
Lila, I believe, right?
Lila, yes, you should remember that because the character, the little baby, is like Lila, 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 wake up, Lila. Why aren't you moving, Lila? And then this, I don't know, it's just this baby. He's like, I feel like this is death.
I feel like I wasn't supposed to laugh there, but I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, it was good. This poor baby who's literally being taught to feel emotion, right? And the baby's like, "Hey, emotion makes me stupid like you," and so it feels emotion, but the emotion is that his caretaker has been killed. Actually, I think the baby, I don't remember how she dies. I know the baby claims or kind of blames you for it, but I think, I don't remember. How does Lila die?
They don't actually show it, but it's implied it's that guy you fight before the baby. That kind of guard captain turned into a monster, killed her.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. That's right. Yeah. So, jeez, what a ride. This game, I don't know. Like, this game was maybe... Here's my recommendation. If you're going to play this game, use liberal use of a guide because it's not particularly fun to figure the stuff out, but it is kind of a fun ride to just go through and see, like, what the heck is going on here? And going through the voice acting. And again, I really like the magic system. So I think it's probably something that still holds some value today, but I don't know that it's a game that really holds or stands the test of time. Shane, why don't you walk me through your thoughts on this, though?
I mean, I do think it's neat that even, like me, I was using a guide, so I knew what all the rings were. But you still have a lot of interesting choices to make as far as what rings you build and what rings you equip. So that knowledge doesn't really diminish things, which I thought was cool. And plus, you never know what gems you're going to get.
Yeah.
And right up until the end of the game, I did feel like I was kind of limited by my gem supply. And
100%.
Really pick and choose what rings I was building at any given time. I couldn't just throw together any ring I was thinking of at any time, which I thought was cool. But no, I don't think it necessarily stands the test of time. There's some very strange design decisions in there.
Well, I want to touch on one of those because you had just reminded me of, they had this sort of interesting currency, right? Yeah, where you can use these gems that you pick up in the world to both buy items, but then also construct magical rings, right? And so I thought there was going to be this cool push and pull of like, oh man, do I want to buy the new sword or do I use those things to get the new ring? But I feel like about halfway through the game, just merchants just kind of up and pieced out. And it's like, well, now I'll just use gems to make rings. I don't know if I missed something there or what.
I only could think of the one merchant in the tree.
Yeah.
And because the game is roughly linear, like at some point I'm like, do I really want to tromp an hour back to that guy to buy some potions? Or
not really.
Not really. No, especially if you get the heal ring, you're okay.
Well, especially with the soundtrack, right? The soundtrack is like they found the 4 notes on the guitar and they just played those.
Just on loop constantly.
Yeah. So it never got annoying, but it was one of those things where you can be like, okay, yeah, I hear this. It's the same pattern over and over and over.
It evokes a mood. That mood is, man, I've been in this level for a long time.
At least they have different songs for different levels.
They do. I appreciate that at least.
Well, I think we're coming up on pretty much everything I wanted to chat about. Before we move on to the next segment, was there anything that you really wanted to call out here, or things you think potential players to this game might want to know, or strategies or something?
There is one thing I wanted to mention because it made me furious. Do you know about the secret level in the game?
Was it called Hidden Cave, or
yeah, Hidden Cave or something like that?
But wasn't a secret level, right? I thought that was part of the crypt path.
No, there might be something different then.
Okay, yeah, well, walk me through this. Because, I'm looking at this, it's called Hidden Dungeon, level 19, is that right?
I think so, yeah. So there is a hidden dungeon in the game. There's one dungeon that's just completely secret. And the trick is, to get into the dungeon, you need a light ring and a dark ring.
Oh, I didn't do this then, okay.
And you don't get those rings till about 2/3 of the way through the game, right?
Yeah.
So here's the trick. The location of the secret dungeon is behind the starting point. It's on the beach.
So do you mean like the dock that you kind of come in on?
Yep, it's at the dock.
Okay.
So you have to get about 2/3 of the way through the game, get a light and dark ring, and then you have to walk all the way back to the starting point if you want to get this thing.
And did you actually do it?
No.
Okay, you say, what the hell are you talking about? No, I didn't do it. You're crazy.
I heard about that. I'm like, that's just torment. No, I refuse. And I'm just like, that's mean. You have to backtrack through the entire game. And then if you beat the dungeon, if you actually want to use the cool items in there on the final boss, you gotta walk all the way back. Like, there's no teleporters.
I'll tell you what,
no
having teleporters would make this game a lot cooler because you would want to explore some of the things and complete some of the quests that you got, right?
Or maybe if they had an area like the tree that was more of like a hub world that you could just get back to easily and then go to other areas.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the map of the game would be pretty much a straight line from the beach to the final area, more or less.
Pretty much. All right, well, let's move on to our next segment here. So this is this kind of the wrapping up, but it's kind of envisioning what the sequel is. And I'll tell you what, Shane, I'm gonna request that you use your Beth Jersey voice here. And do a little role playing with me because this game, I imagine Eternal Ring 2 is set in Jersey, so I'm gonna call you up and go, hey Shane, I need some help, man. I'm making this new Eternal Ring. This is kind of a southern accent. I don't know.
I don't know where this is going.
I'm making me a new Eternal Ring, and I need your help. You're the leads designer. What are you gonna do for me?
All right, so here's what I was thinking. What you do. You got this baby thing, right?
You got the baby thing. I got the baby thing.
Baby thing's grown up. But
grown up.
It doesn't know about the world. It doesn't know about authority. It doesn't know about morality. None of that stuff. So what I'm thinking is we just do Dark Souls meets Encino Man. I know I can see the dollar signs in your eyes as we speak.
Paint me a picture. Like, what am I doing in this game?
Oh, you've got your rings, you've got your swords, you've got your dragons, you've got embarrassing encounters at the 7-Eleven, you've got Brendan Fraser, of course. Somehow.
So it's like a fish out of water sort of thing.
Exactly, except it's actually an all-powerful baby out of water in Jersey. Put that on the poster. That'll be the selling point right there.
Wait, didn't they make that game and call it Death Stranding?
Somewhere Kojima, just his ears perked up. He's like, what? Someone talking about me?
What? He just sits up straight in bed. He's like, oh, I gotta do this.
Death Stranding 2.
All right, so Eternal Ring 2, and you said it was set in New York?
Jersey.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page there.
The Isle of Sailors.
The Isle of Sailors. Okay, cool. So, man, I tell you what, I want to make this a reality. Where can I go to, I don't know, donate some amount of points or channel points or something to try to make this game a reality, Shane? Any ideas?
Well, I've got one idea. It's a little crazy. Okay. It's a little out there, but
yeah. Okay.
I've got this Twitch stream, twitch.tv/ShaneIsGames.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Stream a couple times a week. I stream the obscure, the unusual, and the nostalgic, and I take suggestions for games, no matter how horrible and inappropriate they may be.
That is a challenge to all of our viewers. I want you to go to ShaneIsGames and just give the most ridiculous suggestion. I want to hear when Shane and I talk again. I want to hear what our viewers talked about. They want me to play, I don't know, something.
I'm already terrified, but I'm not going to stop you.
That's great. So you can donate your channel points to funding. It's kind of like Kickstarter, but for Twitch, right?
Exactly.
It's a Twitch starter.
And also, instead of money, it's points that don't mean anything and have no monetary value.
Right. So you can't actually trade that for anything other than making a Twitch starter.
No. Please stop calling my lawyer. He's so tired.
Actually, it was kind of funny, and this is kind of off topic here, but Harvester, right? Because I know that Harvester is one of those games that you've been trying to fund. Harvester 2, you've been trying to fund that for a while.
I have a weird Bible session.
Did you see that archive.org published the full script to Harvester?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So it's not actually the dialogue script. It's more like a script Bible for the game.
Yes.
And it's got a lot of really interesting things that change, because this is clearly the first draft.
Uh-huh.
The game is a traditional point and click, but the draft describes it as a first person dungeon crawler almost. Which is just bizarre.
You know what? And I'm super excited to announce this here. I want to make sure, because you sent this in as a special announcement. You wanted to let people know at 250 channel subs to your channel. So once you get 250 channel subs, you have agreed to do a live reading of the entire script from start to finish, and however long that takes you is how long that stream is going to be. So head on over to ShaneIsGames on Twitch. Give that man a subscription. Buy some subscriptions for your friends. Let's get him up to 250 because we're going to have a really cool live reading. It's 250, right?
Oh, yeah, 250.
250,
and then you will get 134 pages of bland technical direction for an early game in pre-production. I'll do this. I'll do it.
Of course. I mean, that's why you sent it in. That's why.
Of course, in great detail. Last hour before the stream, just putting the point on it, making sure this went through.
Awesome. Hey, and if you enjoy Retro Oddities and Saturday Morning Gaming Show, you can always view all of our other episodes on SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com. And then, of course, if you'd like to support this show and future endeavors, you can head over to Patreon.com/Saturday Morning Gaming Show. We've got a cool little incentive for 25 Patreon supporters. Even if you just want to chip in $1, it's any tier, $1 more or less. No, not less, because it's the $1 tier. $1 more will get us one step closer to doing a 2-hour-long Earthbound episode on the Saturday Morning Gaming Show, and that game is also balls crazy, so that'll be a fun one. But I guess until the next one, I really want to thank you, Shane, for being a part of Retro Oddities. I enjoy covering these games, and we're going to check out another game in some other time. We don't know. We never know how long these episodes are in between. They're just kind of free-forming it. So, thanks, Shane. And we'll be on the lookout for the next banger of a title for us to cover here. So thank you, Shane.
Been a pleasure as always, and I can't wait.
Have a great one.